your comfort zone is is your worst enemy, because in your mind you're telling yourself right now, I want to go after my dreams, I want to go after my goals, I want to achieve a lot of stuff in this life. But that invisible wall, that comfort zone, puts a lot of resistance on you. That resistance could be, I don't have enough money to move to LA. I don't know anyone out there. I'm gonna be alone. Friends saying it's really hard to make it there. Parents saying, I'm not gonna support you. That's resistance. But the crazy thing is, that's absolutely normal. It's okay. We all go through resistance. The hardest things in life and the things that mean the most to us give us the most resistance. Whether it is moving to LA, whether it is becoming an actor, whether it is getting into stand-up comedy, becoming a singer, a dancer, whether it is breaking up in a relationship, the things that mean the most to us give us the most resistance. And on the other side of that resistance is a whole new strong person. I moved to Los Angeles 23 months ago, and I left the comfort zone of New York City, my family, my friends, and I left that with savings and suitcases full of dreams. I knew what my dreams were. I left my comfort zone and stepped on the other side of resistance the day that I booked that one-way flight to LA. And this has been such a journey so far. It's been a crazy roller coaster ride of ups and downs, loneliness, tears, months where you have made that much money, rejections. But the most constant thing, and the thing that always comes back on the other side of resistance and leaving your comfort zone, is that you have no regrets. You have no regrets. You don't have a night where you wake up and you're like, I wish I didn't move to LA. Like, that never happens. You feel proud of yourself, actually. You see so much self-growth. I've seen so much growth in my career in the last 23 months. I've seen so much growth as an individual. I've seen myself reach new places, and even this podcast right here is such a big thing for me because even though I'm outgoing and smiley and friendly, it's a little bit scary sometimes putting yourself out there. And me giving my feelings, my experiences, and every single thing that I know since I moved here back to people who are just getting into the acting industry, who want to move to LA, who, even if it's not acting, or it could be dancing, singing, whatever it is, or it's just people want to go after their dreams, that my voice and my knowledge could be shared upon you so that it makes going after your dreams a little bit more comfortable. So if you're right now thinking of moving to Los Angeles, getting into acting, becoming a DJ, becoming a singer, a dancer, opening that business, just know that when your book is done and that chapter, did I move to LA? Did I become an actor? Did I open that business? Is written. And it says, it could either say two things. That he went for it, he did it, he tried, he failed, he grew. Or it could say, he did nothing and he just lived with regret. That book will be closed and someone will read that book one day, and that will be your legacy. A person who either didn't go for it, lived in regrets, always wondered what would be? Or your book would read, he went after it, he grew, he failed, he tried, he reached his goals. On his way to his goals, he landed amongst the stars. That will be your legacy. And someone could pick that book up and say, if he went after it, I could go after it too. Go after your goals. Go after your dreams. Keep dreaming hard. You're on this journey with me right now. And I'm super excited. Let's do this. All right, we live? Okay, so today I sat with Sarah Crowley, and she's a professional print and commercial model. Sarah and I met on a set actually for a commercial in Las Vegas, and she was playing my girlfriend or wife or boo or a date, whatever it was. We had a good time. And while on that set, Sarah gave me a lot of insights, and I found out how smart she was and how knowledgeable of the industry she is. And because of Sarah, I actually signed up and I got an agent for modeling only, for print and modeling work. And I've been working at least one job every month since that time. So thank you, Sarah. And Sarah also has a great story because she came from Utah to Los Angeles. Not a lot of money, no job inside, nothing secure. And she had those nights where you bounce from couch to couch, slept in the car. And she's going to tell you that story, what got her through it. And she's going to show you how much of a CEO boss lady she is with her career and how she runs her business as most models and actors should look at themselves. So jumping right into Sarah Crowley. Take it away.
I'm actually originally from LA. I'm from Tarzana.
Okay.
And then when I was really young, my mother is Japanese, so her and I moved to Japan. And my mother remarried, so my stepdad is from Utah. So we were back and forth all my life. Japan a few years, Utah a few years, Japan a few years, Utah a few years. And then, I went to college in Utah. I, graduated. And I always had kind of this need and this want for being in the creative arts. I always wanted to be a model. I remember growing up watching, people like Cindy Crawford and just how beautiful they were and like what they exuded,
Right.
with their career. And I always just wanted to be a part of that. And then, I went into sales and marketing for a long time, did the whole corporate thing. And it was just, life was just good. It was okay. It was content,
Yeah.
but I'm like, but I just want something more. And I felt that there's something more.
Right.
So I quit my job. I left through the resources that I had. I moved to San Francisco for a season, had an agency there. And then when I came back, there was an agent who had modeled in her youth, and she was starting an agency in Utah. So I got introduced to that, and it just kind of all started from there. And it's only been 5 years. This was just 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there was modeling in Utah.
Yeah, it's a small market, but it's there.
Modeling beer or? No.
Yeah, it's...
No liquor.
What?
No liquor commercials.
Oh, yeah, right? Is that legal? I don't know. Yeah, it's a very blue
have to check that
state. Yeah.
So you got into modeling in Utah. That's where your career started.
Yeah, I started there, and of course, the market's very small there. So my agent, me and two other girls, we came here to LA, and I'm kind of the only one that stayed. Like the other two girls just kind of left after a very short amount of time. I just don't think it was, for them or...
Yeah, wait, you left Utah with two other girls to LA?
Yeah.
Why LA, and what made you guys want to leave?
Because it was our agents. My agent was like, hey, LA is a bigger market. I'm going to set you up with, because she was our mother agent. So she set us up with meeting agencies here. And
What's a mother agent? I don't even know.
Okay, so that's a great question. So a mother agent is kind of like the headquarters of your agency, basically. Your mother agent works as like a manager, so they kind of take, control as far as you getting agencies in other places.
Right.
And then, which is great for them, because when you start getting jobs outside of the state and you're booking with the other agency that they signed you with, then they get like a small percentage.
Okay, so like perpetually, forever, they get a percentage of
It's
you?
like residual. They get residual off of what bookings you get with other agencies that they helped sign you with.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
so they're mother agents in like every town, even Utah.
Totally. Because that's how I would say a lot of their income comes from is, you have a mother agency that comes from a small town. Obviously, there's no market there for modeling or acting or whatever it is you want to do. So they will send talent to bigger states like New York, LA, Chicago, Miami, where you are going to book a lot of work. And then based on whatever contract the mother agency will have with your agency in those bigger cities, they'll get a percentage.
Okay, nice. So
Yeah.
you guys packed up, moved to LA.
Yeah.
What did your parents think?
Oh my gosh. I think at that point my parents just know me. I've always been that child that just kind of did whatever she wanted to do,
Right.
regardless of what was being told. I think they're like, if it makes you happy, then do it, kind of, attitude.
Yeah.
But it was very hard. LA is very different from a small city or smaller state compared to, like Utah is much smaller of a market than LA.
Yeah.
I lived out of my car, and
So you lived out of your car when you first got here?
yeah, I couch surfed here and there.
Uh-huh.
And there are plenty of nights when I spent it in my car in Hollywood,
Wow.
for sure,
Wow.
And I think, yes, it's hard because it's uncomfortable, but I think what makes it hard is when you don't have money and then you see yourself getting into debt because you still have to pay your bills, like your cell phone bill or whatever bills you may have. Like I still had student loans. And then you add on like loneliness on top of that.
Right.
So I think feeling lonely was the hardest part. And then it becomes harder, or it seems harder, because then you're like, I don't have money to pay bills, and you're living out of your car, and you're alone.
So what keeps that fight inside of you going? Because I know every artist, every person that doesn't have a fixed, a fixed plan that says if you do A, you'll get to B. If you do
Right.
B, you'll get to C. What drives you from A to B, B to C? What keeps you there every week? Like you're in your car, you're bouncing around. How does that work?
It's just the knowing that within you, this is what I'm meant to be doing. That's definitely my drive, because life is going to happen regardless of what you do or what you don't do. Life hardships are going to happen whether you have that stable 8-to-5 job or not. And I think it really helped starting later in my years. I started in my late 20s modeling, which is unheard of. Most people start at, late teens.
Right.
I started much later than what the norm was. And there's no way that I could have done it if it wasn't for having like sales and marketing background, because a lot of things that talent doesn't know about the entertainment industry is we are 100% commission.
Yeah.
Which means if you're not going to castings, if you're not going to auditions, if you're not marketing yourself, if you don't have really any form of sales background,
Right.
your entire power is dependent on your agents getting you things. And so, that's something that I think people don't realize is like our industry is, you're 100%, it's a 100% commission-based job. And so if you're going to be in this industry, you really have to have like something deep within you that's like, I know this is what I'm meant to be doing, and I'm like whatever it takes.
Yeah, it's called, I call it my reason why.
Right.
And for me, I would have 3 reasons why I'm doing something. Because if it's something surface, like most people come to Los Angeles thinking, I want to be a star.
Right.
And that's cool, but it doesn't take you from the car night to night.
Right.
sleeping in that car night to night. That would take you to, I saved some money.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sublet apartment in Hollywood, East Hollywood, wherever.
Yeah.
And after that lease is done, that's it. If I didn't reach there, that's it.
Right.
So you probably had an inner why that carried you over and over. And
Right.
yeah, it's your dream. But for me, my why that kept me here, through the loneliness, was that I am putting on for my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are counting on me to give my best. So when it gets down, I would still go to that place and be like, no, Darius, come on, let's do this. Let's do this. That's another day we in this fight again,
Right.
So, I mean, I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
So this is a pleasant, shocking surprise, but very pleasant as well.
Yeah.
So you bounce around from car to car. Where does this first job come? What happens? What's your mindset?
It was very interesting because I remember I was so, it was really hard, and the two girls that had originally come to LA with me had already gone back home. And, I remember I'm like, well, I need money, I need to pay my bills. I'm already so behind. And I walked into this ramen restaurant that's on Hollywood and La Brea. I walked in and I talked to the owner, and, my intention was to see if they needed someone, like extra help. And I sat down with the owner, and it was instant. He gave me a really simple serving job, so I started working there. And with the little money that I started making, because I really relied on tips, the little money that I had, rather than pay my bills, I started spending it on paying for LA Casting and Casting Frontier.
I love that so much.
Because I just knew that if I just trusted the process, and because it's a numbers game, and I already had that mentality from doing 10 years of sales and marketing. It's a numbers game. Sales is a numbers game. And so the more times that I could submit myself, and it's only LA Casting is $10 a month for the basic subscription, but I would pay that over paying my student bill or paying my cell phone bill, and I just knew that it was going to happen. It was going to happen. It was going to happen.
Bet on yourself.
I really did. Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And it's you sacrifice everything and you bet on yourself. You bet on that extra late call, that extra late fee, that charge, that one day that you would make it on your own. And that betting on yourself is to me right now, you just making me smile.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, I remember my mother agent had called me because, all she was seeing was that I was, here out alone, and I was behind on bills, and I didn't have any money. And, she had offered to give me, to send me gas money to come back to Utah. And I was really quite offended that she'd even made that offer because, I directly said, look, if I can't, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And what am even if I go back to Utah, then what? Because if it's a matter of me getting a job to pay my bills again, I can get any job that I hate here in LA.
Right.
If I'm not willing to feel a little bit of uncomfortableness, because pain is temporary, if I can't allow myself to go through a little bit of feeling uncomfortable, knowing that it's temporary, then I don't deserve to be here. Then I shouldn't be pursuing what I want to pursue.
Right.
If I can't, if this is I don't want to be in pain, and what can I do to get out of pain immediately, rather than just trusting the not knowing of what's going to happen, but knowing yourself, then I'm then I don't deserve to be here. Right. And I declined. She didn't give me, I declined that. I declined going back to Utah because I was I lived most of my entire life doing everything I hated.
Right.
So imagine what it would look like doing everything I love. If I can support myself doing everything I hate, imagine what that would look like doing everything I love.
Yeah.
So that was I told her that, and I was I'm staying.
Right. Was that a phone call? Was that?
It was a phone call. Yeah.
It was a phone call. You remember?
She's like, do you want me to give you some gas money to get home? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
You already bet on yourself.
Yeah.
So you took a bet. You LA casting, whatever castings that's out there at that time, and while you're submitting, you're like you're just hoping, or how did their first job, how did the first couple $100 come in?
Oh my gosh. Well, at this time, I also had braces on.
Yes.
And which made me feel even more insecure, on top of living out of my car and on top of couch surfing, because I couldn't smile. And LA is a very commercial market where you go in and you have to be able to smile.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I can't smile, And so I remember I had submitted for this very, it was like low paying, just low budget, but great production music video.
Okay.
And, it paid like $250, like nothing, but it was something to me. Yeah. And I went into the casting and I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I don't care.
What do you have to do?
There was like me and two other girls, and it's these sisters, and they're very big. They're kind of like urban kind of artists. They're very big in Europe, and they were just looking for like native kind of authentic type of look. Yeah. And they wanted us to like pretend that we were on the back of like a convertible or a car and just like be yelling and having fun. And I just, regardless of whether I had my braces on at the time, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go for it. I don't care. And I just like yelled and I had fun. And then the next day,
they were like, we need the girl with the braces.
Totally.
What?
I booked it
You
because of my look.
Braces.
Yeah. I mean, and the artists are the ones who chose me. They're like,
wow.
We want her. We love her look. We want her. And so the next day, the casting director called me and he's like, hey, like they want to book you. The artist loved you. And I think we shot like a big, where did we shoot? Big Sur, somewhere.
Before we go to the shoot, I want to know how you felt getting that call. Because I remember getting my first somebody wants you call.
Yeah.
And that's like...
Yeah. It was like, it was such a great feeling because, and I can't remember if I cried or something, because it had been so much resistance, and so much pain. And then I get my first, booking, and I was like in awe.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, and then after that, it just started happening. So, and I'm still really good friends with that casting director. Wow. I still go in for him all the time. But yeah, he had I don't even think he understands how much,
So after you booked that, did you get like more agents here in LA? How does that work? Like, how does getting an agent? How does Sarah go around getting an agent? Sarah versus
right? I knew what I wanted to do. When people, I'll have people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to get into modeling. What do you recommend? Or, hey, my niece, or hey, my nephew, And I think it's good to know exactly what it is you want to do, because modeling, just to model, is very broad. There's different types and genres of modeling. Like there's hair modeling, there's e-commerce, there's lifestyle, there's fitness, there's body parts, like where you do hand modeling, you can do commercials. I mean, you can do promo modeling. You can do, there's so, like voiceover, like modeling is very broad. So every time someone asks me, oh, I want to model, I'm like, okay, what kind of modeling do you want to do?
Right, you have to be more specific.
You have to be much more specific, because then you can break it down, and then you have a better idea of being able to understand what agency is going to be good for what it is you're looking for, and it's going to be a better fit. Like if you want to do runway, you can't just walk into any agency because they may not serve you. They may not have runway clients for you, so it's not going to be a good match. To me, getting an agency isn't just about getting an agency just to get an agency, which I feel like a lot of people do.
Like everyone just does it to put in their Instagram bio.
Right. Like, oh, I have an agency now. Right. My life is fixed. I have a career. No, it's more than that, So for me, it was very important. My way of kind of setting my career up was find a niche, find what it is you want to do, and then specialize in that, because there's always going to be more money in specialized fields. And then you're just honing in on your focus, you know. So
What was your specialty? What was your niche? What did you identify was unique to you that you wanted to focus on?
you know, I've always known that I kind of wanted to do everything.
Right.
That I didn't want to just limit myself to just one genre of modeling. I always knew that it was going to be a growing thing. And so I just started doing my research. You know, I would study like models, what agents they were with and maybe why, you know, and be like, okay, that model is clearly more runway,
Right.
you know. I've always been, I mean, I think at the time when I started, even 5-6 years ago, the height requirement was very, you know, like you had to be a certain height. Now we have all this influencer type of market, so the height doesn't matter as much, at least in LA. You go to New York, yes, you still have to have certain height requirements, but it's much lower than they used to be. You know, I just started looking up online. Like if I saw a campaign, I'm like, okay, that's a hair campaign. How do I get into hair modeling? So I would do my research on hair agencies. Okay, I want to work for Adidas. I want to work for Nike. I want to work for, you know, sports and fitness brands. Is there an agency that just does fitness? You know,
Right.
and I did my research on that, and then I would start to find that there are agencies that do specialize with certain genres,
Right.
and I just kind of started going from there.
See, that's what's so cool about LA because you have the different types of agencies that could fit these different genres and
Right.
everything you see on TV that's all shot in LA, it's all casted in LA.
Yeah.
90% of it, it's all in LA because talent pool is here, the agencies are here,
Yeah,
it's nice weather, you could shoot here.
right.
So that's something that's really cool that you said that because a lot of times I'll come across actors or mainly actors, and they would say, you know, I never want to be typecast or anything like that, or just to be limited to one, which is understandable because in the end game you want to be able to portray whoever you want to portray.
Sure.
But coming up, I feel it's so necessary to know who you are first, know what the market is right now,
Yeah.
what agencies are looking for, what if it's either sports, it's either Japanese, it's short hair, long hair, hand models.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so much that you could choose from. If you're more specific,
Yeah.
you could then hone in on an agency, develop a relationship, something like that, you know.
Yeah. And that's kind of exactly what I did. You know, I found a hair agency. And 5 years later, I'm still doing hair. And it's great because then it doesn't conflict with, like, let's say my fitness agency or my print agency or my theatrical
So
agency.
you could have different agencies.
Yeah, because now there is something to where a lot of agencies are now going non-exclusive.
Okay.
Which is nice because then, you know, as long as everyone is on the same page, you are able to have multiple agencies rather than just one. To me, the idea that one agency is going to be the best at every division is not possible.
Right.
You know, every agency is going to be better at one division than another, you know? So to me, it was like, okay, how can I balance this and find, like, my hair agency is never going to conflict with my commercial agency.
Right.
You know, or like my fitness agency is never going to conflict with my hair agency because they don't do the same thing. You know, like the great thing with agents that specialize in a specific market is they're going to be the best at what they do because that's all they do. Which means you're never going to miss out on opportunities of working with that client that you probably want to work with because it's in that market.
You're super smart. No, it's so true because my podcast is called 1000 Failures. And I feel like a lot of people are gonna fail a lot, like just over and over because you haven't done research, and doing the research makes your job a lot easier.
Right.
You know, it makes it more specific. Then I am going into Wilhelmina and just saying, I want to be a model.
Right.
What type of model do I want to be?
Right.
You know, it could be sports. They have different divisions. They have Wilhelmina Fit, right? I think
Right.
it's something like that. Fit.
Yeah. Which they're known for.
Right.
Yeah.
They have plus size modeling now. So they have so much different divisions. But if you look and you limit yourself and say, oh, I'm too big, I can never be a model, or I'm too short, I can never be a model.
Right.
I think that limits you, and that gives you a setback, because those could be years that you could be working on your career.
Yeah.
And as you have done a lot of research onto each different type of industry in the modeling industry that you want to, you've opened the market up for so much stuff. And when we met, I was just in awe about how many stuff that you were doing, how much agents you have, and I was like, wow, like you are like what I would like to be, in my career of figuring things out. So for myself, I then, I went into more research onto my career and tried to be more specific onto what I want to do.
Right.
So what would you tell Sarah, who just moved to LA?
Yeah.
Just got to LA. You're bouncing around from couch to couch. If you could give yourself advice, what would it be?
Back then?
Yes.
I mean, nothing. I feel like, because it worked out. Whatever it is that I did or didn't do, regardless of how I felt at the time, it worked out. So clearly I was doing something. Right. And people say this all the time, but it really is, so much of it is believing in yourself, and not giving your power away. I see that a lot happening to a lot of young talent. Luckily for me, again, I worked with marketing and sales background, so when it comes to me having a voice and having vocal vitality to my agents, because, agents don't own you, and that's a big misconception. You see a lot of young talent that just get signed, through like a mother agent back from a small market, and they just wait around because now they're codependent on someone else to make them happy, on someone else to get them a job. There's no independency. And in so many contracts, if you read modeling contracts, it says, you are an independent contractor. We are here to give you advice, and we're here to give you basically like consultation. It says that in contracts. We're here to give you consultation. So, it's also learning to kind of like really take yourself, like you are your own business. You are a CEO. Like get in that mindset and know that it's okay to have a voice. If something's not vibing with you and you have questions, have that vocal vitality to say, hey, I don't like what you're suggesting me to do. How can we do this differently to where we're on the same page? When I first got with my agents, because I do hair and I was booking a lot of hair, and I still book a couple hair jobs out of the year, my agents hated that my hair color changed because they couldn't control it, and I'm a different look, which put fear that now I may not book. But the truth is, I had to have the conversation with my agents and say, listen, it's okay. If a client really likes me and wants to book me, then please let me know, because I'm open to changing my color. It's a one-day process. And truth be told, anytime I do a hair job, it's already a season ahead, which means my hair is going to be the trend. So it's always in the future. It's already like marketable. So anytime I ever change my hair, it doesn't limit me from work, which is, I think, always the fear of agents. Like if you change your look, then it may not book you jobs anymore. That's not true necessarily. It just means that it puts you in a different market. Like when I'm more blonde, it just puts me in a different market, but it doesn't not book me jobs. If I'm more dark, it just puts me in a different market. Maybe I look more Spanish and more Asian. When I'm more blonde, I look more ambiguous and Brazilian or European. But it doesn't not stop me from booking work. So I got to have that conversation with my agents. And, actually going blonde, there was one year where I was just, the entire, all hair brands were like, we want an Asian that can go blonde and still look natural. And I became that model where I was like, blonde, 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 blonde. And I had my agents calling me, freaking out. And I was like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. And sure enough, because they just wanted me to be brown, like dark, Brown. And I was like, listen, I trust what's happening here. Like, I trust that this hair, it's the trend. Like, my hair's already in the future. And then sure enough, that same year, being blonde is what booked me my first national campaign with Carrie Underwood for Almay. It then immediately booked me Target, a big Target campaign because of my blonde. I remember the client ran up to me and they're like, we loved your beauty shot. And it was my blonde headshot that all my agents hated, that I said, you guys may not like it, but I love it and I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, so I think, you know, you get to be comfortable in your own skin enough to know if this is an industry that you want to do, make sure that you understand that this is a 100% commission job and you have to have a voice. And if you're not ready to at some point have, you know, be grounded enough to state your own opinions and state how you're feeling and just being open and honest and learning how to communicate. Because your agents, I mean, everyone wants to be successful. Your agents don't make money when you don't make money. It's an equal partnership.
Right.
But I definitely look at it as that. You know, I don't necessarily put people on like a pedestal as if they're like, oh, you know, they're so-and-so. It's like, how can I work with you? This is an equal partnership moment.
Right.
Can I communicate with you? Am I creating a space for you to feel safe enough for me that you can reach out to me? And are you creating a safe enough space that I can feel comfortable reaching out to you? If that's not happening, then maybe, you know, maybe you can look for other agents or other managers or other people that it is going to be a better partnership because it's a business partnership.
Yeah, I feel like most people coming up in the industry and they're green,
Yeah.
they feel that first sign-in, that first agency is the right partnership.
Because they have nothing else to go off of.
Exactly.
Right.
So for people hearing your voice right now they know that
there's so much more.
There's so much more out there.
Yeah.
And it's not when no one's hating on any of our agents. It's just facts that people may not always align with each other.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody out there for you. And you have the confidence to state how you feel and book to your national job.
Yeah. Just from believing in myself and not immediately going into that fear mode and be like, oh, you know, okay, you know, it was just like, hey, I've got this. And you know what? It's not a big deal. If there's a client that really wants me to change my hair color, then please let them know that I'm willing to do that. It's not a big deal. It literally takes one day to get that done, you know?
Yeah.
But it's almost reminding each other, you know, rather than like, am I trying to be right or am I trying to be happy?
Yeah.
So it's just finding the balance, you know, that works for both of you. Partnership.
And in terms of the stuff that people want to hear as well,
Yeah.
could you make a living off of print and commercial jobs? Could somebody just make a living off of modeling, doing commercials, and that kind of work? Is it possible?
I do it. So I would say, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, right now, you know, there's so many opportunities, there's so many platforms, there's so much going on within the industry. You know, we have social media now, that wasn't a thing before. You're never out of options for success. I think if you have a desire and you have a goal and you have passion, then you can make anything happen. Why limit yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, before you go, it is called 1,000 Failures, and it's because I've become comfortable feeling and with failure and going to castings and going to auditions and realizing that every single time I go, I learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know, what was in your life and in your career so far the biggest learning experience, the biggest failure?
Failure?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't even, you know, I see everything, whether it's success or failure, everything to me is a moment of opportunity.
Right.
You know, and the definition of how we define failure is different for everyone. You know, what is failure? You know, is it failure of, oh, I didn't make this much this year, therefore I failed? To me, that's like, but you made this much this year. How
Right.
did you fail? You know, though, to me, all of that is perspective on how you choose to attach to it and how you choose to see it. To me, if something doesn't go the way that I anticipated or I expected, then it's okay. It's just a moment of opportunity. I choose to look at it as opportunity moments. That's it.
You live in the opportunity.
Always an opportunity. Yeah, always, because then you grow, you know, because I think people get stuck in trying to be perfect all the time. And it is great to ask yourself here and there. I do it myself where I'm like, okay, am I trying to be right or am I trying to be happy? Right. Because when I am happy and I feel happy, that's when things happen and there's that flow. And it's not explained, it just happens rather than trying to control things all the time, you know, and it's, I think, just loving yourself, you know, not being hard on yourself when things don't go the way you wanted them to go. It's staying flexible, it's staying open. And I think, you know, a lot of the reasons why things happen is because I think kindness also goes a long way. You know, it's being kind to, you know, your peers, it's being kind to strangers, it's being kind, you know, kindness takes you very, very far in life. Never making assumptions or judgments on others. It's just, oh, you know, how can I learn from you? Yeah. Yes, you may.
That's how we
yes.
clicked, because I learned from you. So, fun fact, while on our shoot in Las Vegas, and this is the wrap, while on our shoot in Las Vegas, we were in conversation, and this lady was like, well, I go out for so many castings a week, and if I don't book this amount, then this doesn't make sense. And she's like working out castings by numbers and like math, and I'm like, wow. I was like, I'm just happy to even get casting. She's like actually making it a math, and it's her business. She's a CEO. Like, I heard her speak. She was CEO of her company, and I asked her like, what agents you work with, and she was like, oh, I work with this agency in Orange County. She'll go check them out, give them their number. So I reached out to the agency, and I've worked at least once or twice a month on print and commercial jobs ever since.
That's awesome.
So thank you for your advice, your contacts, spreading love, and I hope that especially young ladies coming up in the modeling industry could take some kind of advice from you and follow your Instagram, Sarah Crowley 65.
It's, what is it? At S Crowley 35.
At S Crowley 35. I just added 30.
You did. Wow. Or just my name, Sarah Crowley.
It's just Sarah Crowley.
Pop up somewhere.
Yeah, she'll pop up. It's going to be on the YouTube page. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Appreciates you and your drive.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yay.
Nice. Boom.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. Well done, Sarah Crowley. You are a true example of strength, determination, and just heart. You left your comfort zone in Utah and you moved to LA and you followed your dreams. Now, anyone listening to this who is on the same path as you and looking to go after something that's big, they could always draw reference to this. If you could do it, they could do it as well too. And if you would like to see this conversation on YouTube, it's 1,000 Failures. You can see this interview and the commercial that Sarah and I did together in Las Vegas. It's pretty funny. But she's my boo. So yeah, you could check that out on YouTube, 1,000 Failures. And while you listen to this podcast, just screenshot it, post it on your Insta story and tag me. I'll repost it and probably leave a funny comment or emoji right behind. So thank you. Well done again, Sarah Crowley.